96 all week, 98.
Oh, God. Right, here we go. We're live. Hello,
All right.
everyone, and welcome to my new show, Out of Nowhere. It's a brand new show. Been going for about, I don't know, about 3 months. Got some terrific guests on today, and we continue with another great guest, Jesse FP. Jesse is a certified MUFON field investigator for the state of Pennsylvania. Can we please welcome Jesse to the show? Hello there.
Hey, Bob, how you doing, man? It's good to be back on.
Oh yeah, I've been looking forward to this. I know we talked a lot last time about MUFON, but we'll get into that in a bit. Tell
Yeah.
us about what project. I think it's Batek 404. What's all that about?
So yeah, Project Bad Tech, I started probably, this is going to go on 3 years. It's been going on for. It's just something, when I had my sighting here in Philadelphia, we had seen four gold unidentified objects flying in a formation, and I had just gotten a brand new cell phone at the time, and I tried to take video of it, and my phone malfunctioned and wouldn't work. Didn't think nothing of it at the time. As I started investigating more and more cases, I started to find out that during UFO sightings, there's electrical malfunctions that occur that affect all kinds of electronics, whether it be a car radio, a cell phone, anything, electricity. So that kind of caught my attention, and I started seeing more and more of this. So Project Tech is basically, we specifically investigate only UFO sightings and encounters that deal with these electromagnetic anomalies. So we take cases from all over the world. Right now, we have the largest database of these EM cases. Put a good team together of people that really know what they're doing. And so far, we've been trying to document as much as we can. We put papers out as often as we can with the team and time that we have available, to try to update people and show people the statistics, and the trends that are happening within these electromagnetic anomalies that occurred during these sightings. So it's been a fun little project, and got some good people to work with. Learned a lot, and happy to be a part of it.
How did you get? How did you get into MUFON? How did all that happen?
So MUFON actually happened. I had just gotten into the field a couple years prior to joining MUFON. Started seeing TV shows of UFOs, Ancient Aliens. I was watching that like crazy. In Search Of was out there. There was all kinds of the MUFON docu-series came out, and I seen their name, and I was like, MUFON, what is this? And I had been researching on my own for about 3 years prior to that. So when I looked into it and found out that MUFON is the largest organization in the world that's investigating UFOs, I was like, well, I can do this. I joined the military to serve, and this was kind of like my other way of serving, in a sense, to become an investigator. Did the training. The training was very extensive. You had to go through a whole training course on MUFON University, which is their online university, just like our regular school has.
Right.
Had to take my certification classes there. I had to take my final exam. And then I had to do some work with our director of investigations. And then I became a field investigator trainee. Did some cases under supervision. And then from that point, I became a regular certified investigator. And now today, that was in 2019 when I joined. It's now 2024, and I'm a state section director. I'm a part of the MUFON ERT, which is our experience and resource team, working with experiencers on a daily basis to help them through the process of what they've experienced. And I work on the CAG team as well, doing cases that are from all over the world, that need extra assistance with people's backgrounds. So it's been a fun ride, man. And I've met a lot of really good people, got a lot of experience, and I've investigated a lot of cases.
I'm going to say because when people think about joining MUFON, I don't think they know what they're letting themselves in for. Really, it's a lot of hard work, but rewarding in the finish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Probably joining MUFON was one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. And it's been rewarding, like you said, in a lot of different ways. With all the work that I've done, getting all that understanding of the phenomenon and doing things like that has opened up other doors along the way of meeting different people from all over the world, not just here in the United States, like yourself, Bob. I've got to meet
Yeah,
you through this. You know what I mean? So it's great
yeah,
to
that's true.
make all these new friends like yourself and to be able to do it. And it's been a great journey. You know, I mean, I'm in the process of finishing up a book, so that'll be getting published by the end of this year, hopefully.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
yeah, and then my second documentary I'm in is coming out this summer. So I've never in a million years dreamed that I would ever be an author. I never dreamed that I'd be in a documentary, you know what I mean? And it's just what has happened along the way. You know, it's not like I reached out and said I wanted to do this. It's just come with the territory. So it's been an exciting process for sure.
I know another thing is about a lot of UFO sightings, and there may be a bit of medical history to find out. What about the UAPs and medical coalition?
Yeah, so I helped co-found that the UAP Medical Coalition a while back now. So what the whole process, the whole meaning behind it was to basically educate other medical professionals on what experiencers go through and walk away with from different encounters. We know the big case, the Cash Landrum case, where the mother, grandmother, and granddaughter were driving down the road one night and they seen this big diamond craft with flames coming out of the bottom of it in the middle of the roadway. And once they got out of the vehicle, you know, they had the vehicle got so hot that the mother burned her hand on the door trying to get back into the vehicle. And then this, you know, after the sighting occurred, they started having effects of radiation days and weeks and months and years later. And it actually deteriorated the mother and grandmother both had serious health effects and probably passed on from those. So we know that when you're experiencing things like this, the possibilities of what health effects you can walk away with are pretty much endless. And it's a shame. And so what we do is, you know, there's people that I've worked with before that are experiencers that say, hey, you know, I have these medical effects. I can't go to my doctor. My doctor said I was crazy, or it was something else, or they overprescribe medication that's really not helping the underlying cause of what effects they have. So our job at the UAP Medical Coalition was to educate these medical professionals so they know how to treat experiencers that walk away with illnesses and effects. Because it's, you know, we all know there's a big stigma with the UFO field, and many doctors, you know, they hear the stigma and they don't want to get involved with it. So our job is to educate, open it up, make it more talked about, and to help the experiencer is the main goal.
So you have your own medical team then, what work from UFO?
So yeah, well, I helped put the UAP Medical Coalition together. It's up and running. You know, I did what my part in getting it going, and now it's been running, and the whole team over there has been running it great. And it's coming along well.
I'm going to say, um, when people get in touch with you early on and say, I think I've been abducted and things like that, you think, oh my God, like you said, who do you go to? You can't go to your doctor because they'll lock you up.
That's right. And people that I've talked to over the years, you know, they've had family members or friends that tried to talk to their therapist about this or their doctor, and the doctor has prescribed them tons and tons of different medications, and it just covers up the underlying problem and doesn't help the experiencer. And then because it continues to happen because it's not helping the underlying problem, they continue to tell their doctor they're having these issues, and then they become an inpatient at a medical place, and they get, and you know what I mean. It doesn't
Section.
help anybody. So
Yeah, I know briefly we spoke about your new book. When's it coming out? And how do you find it? Are you all right at writing, or do you have certain patterns where you can write early morning or late at night?
So yes, I have those patterns where I can't write sometimes, and I have the writer's block for sure. But when I don't have that writer's block, I'm a pretty good writer, I think. I've been having, you know, I've had probably roughly a dozen articles published in different magazines, and for example, MUFON's monthly journal that comes out, I've had articles published there. I'm writing for a magazine now called the Unx Magazine, which is the radio station my podcast is on. I'm now one of their authors there. So writing has come pretty good. I've learned how to become a better writer over time, and I'm almost finished the book. I'm working on the last chapter. But the last chapter is probably the best chapter in the book, so it's got to be very done right and done well, and that's what I want to make sure. I don't want to rush it. And it's being published through Flying Disc Press, so that's Philip Mantle,
I
great
know.
publisher, yeah, great guy. He's worked with me, really, really well. He's made me feel completely comfortable. So yeah, I'm excited to be going through Flying Disc Press, and I can't wait for it to come out at the end of this year.
And you say you've been doing a few documentaries.
Yeah, I did a documentary about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago now. It was called In Plain Sight, The Intelligence Community and UFOs. It's actually still available. You can get it on Tubi, which is free. You can just download the app and you can watch it on there. But when it came out, it was on Apple. It was all over. Really good stuff, with the little bit of military background I have in dealing with the intelligence field within this field. We kind of touched on that, the cover-ups, you know what I mean, the stigma attached to the subject. Myself, Eric Mintel, Tom Carey, and Richard Doty and John Ramirez were all in that film.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, some pretty good people in there. And I think it did what it was supposed to do. It got the message out that we were trying to get to. And then there's another one coming out. I don't want to give any too much information. I don't know what I can and can't say, but it will be out this summer. So it'll be out soon, and I'll be able to tell everybody about it. So
brilliant!
It's exciting.
It's educating people as well, isn't it?
I think that's kind of where I'm at now in the field. You know what I mean? I'm still doing investigations, still working for MUFON as hard as ever. But now I've also turned my perspective at trying to educate the public and other people about the subject. Because when you first get into this field, there's so much information when you start looking, when you first get into it and you become passionate about it and addicted to it, that you don't know what you're reading is true and you don't know if this is fake or if this is not good information. So I think it's good when people like myself and yourself that have been in the field for a while give information out to the public, trusted information, and can kind of guide people in the right direction when they're getting into this field. So I try to, educate people, friends and family. I'm the go-to guy if you have UFOs in the family and they all come and ask me questions, and, they tell me about their stories too. You know what I mean? I have family members that I had no idea had UFO sightings, and they tell me about them now for the first time. So it's pretty cool. And I've got to investigate some of the family members' UFO sightings, which is pretty neat too. But yeah, it's all about education, man. I think, with the more education we do about this field, the more people will get involved, the less stigma we'll have in the field. So people will be more open to talk about it, which I think is already kind of happening now that the government is open to it. We're having UFO hearings on the Capitol. We're having different bills passed. You see more state reps and congressmen and women getting involved. So yeah, education is key in this field, I think.
I think it is as well. Tell us about your own experiences of UFO sightings.
Yeah, so like I was talking about earlier, I had a sighting, my first sighting, which actually didn't happen until about 2 years after I joined MUFON. I didn't come in with a known UFO sighting when I joined. But it was about a year or two after I joined doing investigations, and I was here in Philadelphia, broad daylight sighting. I was with my dad. We were driving down the main avenue. We're driving, and I was on my phone, and he had said, "What's that?" And when I looked up, I had seen 4 gold circular unidentified objects flying behind each other, kind of like this in a 2 and 2 formation, flying along.
Right.
So I grabbed my phone, and that's when the phone didn't want to work. It's a brand new phone. I only had it for about a month. There's no reason it shouldn't be working. Trying to take a video of it. It's just not happening. So when I finally decided to stop with the phone, we hit a stoplight, and they went from that 2 and 2 formation into a single file behind one another and moved like that. So that right there told me intelligence. These things are obviously intelligent if they can move like that, and they're flying in a formation. And then one at a time, they blinked out completely disappeared. The first one went boop, gone. The second one went boop. My phone came back on, and I got a still photo of the last two objects, which I still have. Pretty cool. You can see both two of the gold objects out of the four. So I do have that to show. And then it was nice to have another witness with me, my dad as well. So later on, when we got home, I'm trying to look at the photo. And when my phone was malfunctioning in the car when I was trying to take a video and I didn't take one, it was
Yeah.
recording the whole time and I didn't know. So I actually have the recording, and you can hear me fighting with the phone, talking about the objects in the sky. We're looking at them, we're describing them. You can see a tiny bit of video, but it's kind of, you can see the objects at one point in the video that we're talking about. So there is that, which is really nice to have. But yeah, it was incredible. It was finally, I was finally having my own sighting. You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool.
I know you're looking at it. Sometimes you're not prepared when you see things. How big do you think they were?
So they had to be as big as an airplane, at least, because they were at that height where airplanes fly. So they had to be at least the size of a regular passenger airplane, and there had to be four of them. And the way they changed formation was way too fast for a normal airplane to do what they did. You know what I mean? So they were pretty large in size for sure, and then to just disappear. I mean, we have nothing that can do that. So it was strange to see that happen.
Are you near an airport at that time then?
So we have a couple airports around here. We have the Philadelphia International Airport, which is a major airport, and then we have the Northeast Airport, which is a little private airport. But private planes come in and out of there all the time. I live right near a flight path that goes directly to the airport. So we see planes every day, and we're familiar with them. You know what I mean? I was in the military for a short time. I'm pretty familiar with most of what they have, and it was none of that. You know what I mean? And my dad, you know what I mean? He's never seen nothing like these objects his whole life, he said. So, it was definitely nothing of the normal.
I know some people who go into UFOs, sometimes they never see anything in their life.
Yeah.
And other times, people, I don't know if they're chosen or not, some people pick up on things and they see UFOs quite frequently.
Right.
For some reason, I know there's people say, well, I've never seen no in my life. I don't believe in them.
Yeah, I mean, there's the hitchhiker effect too, where you see something with somebody else, and then you come home and then you start seeing them. So it's a phenomenon that we really don't understand. So
Can you tell us a bit about the MUFON Experience Resource Team?
Yeah. So the ERT is probably it's really good and rewarding work in its own. We work with experiencers. So a field investigator will do your nuts and bolts regular sighting case for MUFON. We'll look into the sighting reports. We'll look at radar data. We'll try to see if there's a solid object that we can track, and we'll get to the bottom of whatever you had of a sighting. Most of the stuff, about 95%, is usually a natural phenomenon, or it's something that we can explain away. It's 5% of all sightings that are usually unknown objects. So that's what the field investigator does. But the MUFON ERT is the experiencer resource team. We only work with experiencers, people that have had contact, abductions, implants, things that go that next level than what a field investigator does. And we're a resource for experiencers. So people that, need help coping with their life and their experiences that they're having, people that have negative effects, people that just need someone to talk to. We're basically that shoulder that somebody can lean on and have a conversation about, a UFO that maybe came too close, or a being that they had contact with. And most of us are experiencers ourselves that are on the ERT. So, it's nice to be able to talk with someone like that. We talked about earlier the stigma. And because that stigma is there, many people can't talk to anybody, not even their own family members, about this. So when they get on the phone and they're able to talk to somebody that has experienced something similar, it makes a person do a whole 360 and become, living life in a whole new way. we can refer people to, we have referrals. So if you want something like hypnosis, we can set you up with something like that. If you need resources to read and learn more and educate yourself, we can recommend certain things for you to read, send you different links for articles to understand your experience a little better yourself, because a lot of people don't know how to live life while having these experiences at the same time. It's like there's no book to read to understand how to live a life when you're having this stuff happen
Oh,
to you. So coming to MUFON, we have those resources where we can help them and have them live a nice and positive life while even still having some experiences, or we can help them try to get away from it if it's possible. Or just try to work with them as best we can. We're not there to prove if their experience or sightings are really happening on the ERT. We're just there to help you. So it's a really good team of people. You got to go through a separate training to become an ERT on MUFON. So it's a really cool thing. I think it's one of the best parts of MUFON.
do you look at data sometimes for when people have sightings? It might be January to March, March to June, June to September, October to December. Because
Yeah,
I think sometimes there's a pattern in all this
uh,
where you get more sightings in a particular, I wouldn't say time zone, but particular month.
yeah, absolutely. Every What I like about MUFON is they every month in the journal they put the statistics out. And I mean it literally has everything in it. Let me see if I have one here. I do. And I'll show you. This is an older one. It's a book. We get a journal every month.
Right.
Um, and in the journal, they put the monthly statistics out so you understand. Let me see if they have them in here. Or is it in the newsletter? It might be in the newsletter. But either way, they send us something every month that has them in there. And it goes down the line of, how many sightings per state, what kind of size they were, the shape they were, how high they were from the witness that witnessed them. And you'll see some months, like summer months, you'll see that the sightings go skyrocketing because more people are out in the nice weather walking around, so they're looking up more. And you'll see in the wintertime that sightings drop and there's not as many because everybody's inside staying out of the cold
Right.
and they're not looking up all the time. So you see those fluctuations. When someone reports a case, and no matter what it is, if it's a sighting case and you're working a field investigator case, you're going to look at radar data to see if you can track whatever they were seeing on radar that day. And you can see the flight path, you can see the direction they were going, how high they were flying, where they took off, where they landed at, and see all that data as well. So we look at a lot of being a field investigator. Data is like our best friend. That's how we figure cases out. We're able to investigate. So there's a bunch of different data we can look at. The other big thing that we look at is obviously astronomical data. So any kind of anything in space, planets, the weather, cloud formations, all that kind of stuff. Because some people they're not fully educated in astronomy, for example, and they might come out one night and see some strange light that's never been there before, and maybe it's a little orange and red. So they take a picture or a video and they send it to us and say, "Hey, I seen this unidentified object." Well, we look at the astronomical data and we're able to find out that it was Venus or Mars that just happened to be in that location and visible at that night. So there's a bunch of different data that we go through when we investigate a case. Another piece of data is military bases and airports, like we talked about a few minutes ago. Always see how many airports are in the area, how many, for example, military bases. And if they see some kind of object that might resemble a drone, I'm going to look for, Air Force bases or Navy bases because they're the ones that are flying these kind of military drones or planes that could be out there doing that. And a lot of times, if it's something that resembles a drone or something like that, you'll see that there's Air National Guard bases, and there's an Air Force and their Navy Air Base and the Air National Guard, and you'll see that they were flying drones that day, and you'll be able to get that data as well. So there's a bunch of different stuff that we like to look at, and it's interesting to be able to pinpoint what somebody was seeing at that exact time and date. When you get to the bottom of your first case, it's like you did it. It's an accomplishment, so it's pretty cool.
I suppose it's quite difficult now with drones being around as well.
Yeah, that's another big thing I look for whenever I do a case, drone shots, because a lot of people are into drone photography, professional photography done by drones, because they want to take photos and videos of different locations that are beautiful. You know what I mean? And they want to take the, uh, same thing with space and the stars and the planets. They want to take those videos and photos. So people see these drones that are flying in the sky at a far distance, and it looks like a UFO. Well, it is at that time. It's an unidentified flying object, because a UFO isn't just a spacecraft. A UFO is an unidentified flying object. It's an object that can't be identified. So when you hear UFO, it doesn't automatically mean, hey, it's a spacecraft from outer space. So yeah, drones have been a problem. I always make sure I check out how many drone stores are in the area, how many hobby shops are in the area, because they get together, they'll fly all their drones at once. We have a location here in Philadelphia, right outside the state line. It's a national park, and in this national park, in the back, if you drive to the back, they
Right.
actually have a whole section there that is made into a mini airstrip airport,
Oh
and they
God.
fly these huge model airplanes and drones, and this is where they fly them at. And so you can go back there and you can watch these things fly. And I mean, they're probably a whole love seat couch, some of them. You know what I mean? So they're huge. So you have to look for that kind of stuff too when people report. Um, so there's a lot of really cool stuff you can look into.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think the alien agenda is?
So I mean, there's a lot of different people that have a lot of answers as to what the agenda could be. I look at it as, there's obviously the phenomenon is real. I believe in the phenomenon 100%. I don't think there's one specific agenda, just like there's different races of people on Earth and many different kinds of people on Earth. There's different animals here on Earth, different species. I believe it's the same kind of way out there. If there's life out there, then there has to be different kinds. There's not just going to be one particular. And I believe if they're coming all the way here to Earth, that they each have their own different agendas. Some might need water or different minerals that are inside our land. Some may want to watch humans and see how we live. You know what I mean? So I do believe there's different agendas altogether. We hear a lot. The one big one we hear a lot is they're worried about the Earth and us destroying it with nuclear weapons. We hear that a lot too. And we
Yeah,
have many different cases where UFOs have been over major military nuclear weapons bases and completely shut down all the nuclear weapons and the ICBM missiles. So we know that they're there, and we know that they do care about these weapons. So there's a bunch of different agendas for sure, and I think it's a little bit of everything. Just like how we put tags on animals, you know what I mean? They kind of do the same here when you hear people talk about implants. You know what I mean? So it's a
I
bunch of different things.
yeah, I think they're watching us to make sure we just because they must look at us sometimes and think they're always wanting to fight, they're blowing themselves up. But in the deep down, I think they were here before us on Earth. When we had the floods, they went away, colonized somewhere, and I think they're wanting to come back again.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. And some of them may have always been here on Earth. You know what I mean? We talk about, a lot of people think today they're under the ground now, and we Antarctica comes up, Alaska, that comes up all the time. Um, how much of it, we call it the last frontier for a reason, because there's so much land and so much different areas that people have not explored up there. So it's the perfect place to hide. And especially, we know we see a lot of UFOs over water, which we call USOs, unidentified submerged objects.
Yeah,
70 to 80% of the waters have not ever been explored. So it's the perfect hiding place. And if you figure Alaska, the last frontier where not many people have gone, and then you go into the water in Alaska, at that, nobody's going to find you. It's the perfect hiding place. And I do believe that some have always been here. We hear stories of seeing craft come out of the ground or coming out of mountains. What was it? There was the one story about a National Guard unit that was flying a plane over Alaska, and they seen UFOs come out of a hole in the ice. You know what I mean? And then they seen them go right back in and disappear. You know, Kenneth Arnold, he's had his sighting of those what he called flying saucers
That's
in
right.
between Mount Rainier. You know what I mean? They were around the mountain. So yeah, I definitely believe that they're here as well, and they're hiding right in plain sight in a sense.
You know, I'm sure lots of it's interdimensional as well. I think they can come into our reality anytime they want. It's same as like Bigfoot, werewolves. I think they can come in and just disappear
Yeah, I was just
when they
talking with
want.
somebody about that. There's no sense of time with them or space. They can do anything they want with impunity. They don't have to worry about taking 6 hours to make a flight over to another country or to another state. They can be here in a matter of seconds. You know what I mean? So I don't think any of that affects them whatsoever.
And I think they've got a lot of bases because the world, there's more water and land. So they could
Yeah,
have bases under the sea all over the place.
yeah, that's very true. It's like the Nimitz case, where on the west coast, where all the military ships were, and the pilots chased a Tic Tac UFO. These objects were coming out of the water and going in the water, and they were seen by the pilots doing this. And it was described that, you know, the entire month while they were doing maneuvers out there, that they were seeing these things on a nightly basis every day. So I believe that they're in the water 100%. It's the perfect hiding place. And, you know, we can only go so far down, we can only explore so much. And then you have anomalies like you got the Bermuda Triangle, which many people associate with disappearances. But you know, it's also a possibility that there's some type of anomaly there that messes with time and space to where maybe people disappear and go to another time in the world or another planet or somewhere else. You know, you don't know.
It's like in Alaska, there's something like 70,000 people go missing every year.
Yeah,
In
there,
Alaska,
and
you
there's
know,
something called the
it's a,
Alaska Triangle.
it's a wilderness up there. And people just go missing completely, never to be seen ever again.
Yeah, that freaks me out a little bit to think about it. Dave Politis does it called Missing 411, where he talks about this stuff. And I mean, these are not just city people that go up to the mountain for a weekend to go camping that are disappearing. These are people that are professional hunters that have
Yeah.
been walking those trails for years, that know those trails in the back of their hand and would never get lost in a million years, that are going up there and completely disappearing. You know what I mean? Um, it's crazy some of the stuff they find too. So most of the time they don't find any remains or anything like that. They'll find pieces of material of their bags and things like that, but they never find the person. There was this one case where, you know, it was three friends that went up in the mountains, and I think it was Alaska, and they went up and they camped out. They had a cache of supplies that was probably about a couple miles and up a trail. And
Yeah.
the one guy wanted to go out there to go get some supplies, and he had been up that trail and back hundreds of times. They go there every couple months. They go camping. Well, this gentleman supposedly on his GPS tracker that he had with him completely missed the trail that he took for years and went a different route and disappeared. And no one could understand, you know, how this man could get lost when he's done this forever. And then come to find out, they slowly start finding little bits and pieces of his clothing and his boots. I mean, under a tree, his boots were put together perfectly, and one of his bags behind it, like he kind of sat it there and made it look nice. And he was nowhere to be found. And as they kept going, they found another piece of his clothing, and then down at the bottom, only about a quarter of a mile from a home that you could see the home, they found his coffee cup sitting on a log, and they found I think his backpack sitting there. So he had actually, so it looked like that he actually sat on that log, drank a cup of coffee, and put his backpack there, and just disappeared and vanished. And there was a home that you could see from that location. So he wasn't lost, but it was like he went through a portal and was in a different time and place on Earth. And that's why they were finding his objects, but they weren't finding him. You know?
Trouble is, if you do go into one, you can't come back.
That's
Probably.
right. That's right. Imagine that you go through that portal, and it's possibly only one way, and
And
you're
I
not coming
suppose
home.
if you see something like that in front of you, think, wonder what that is. Shall I walk through it?
Yeah. And it's like,
And then
can
you
we?
walk through it and you've gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear people talk about that. They say they see weird things, and some people will go and try it and see what happens, and other people won't. And then it's like, can we see all of them? You know what I mean? Are some of them invisible, where we think we're going on a normal trail and it winds up being a portal and we don't know it? We're walking through what looks normal, you know? So it's a scary thing to think about if you go through one of them.
Of course it is, yeah. Why is the government still denying about UFOs?
So yeah, I mean, you talk about the DoD and all the three-letter agencies, and we're having these hearings with state representatives and congressmen and women, but it's the three-letter agencies that are really holding back information still. And many times when you hear these, when you watch these hearings on the Capitol and you see the people talking about it, they don't go back before the 2000s, and they don't go back to Roswell. They don't talk about none of that stuff. They don't talk about the Phoenix Lights. They don't talk about Travis Walton. They talk about everything that's happened more recently, like this is like a new phenomenon, but it's not. And they try to deny everything still. I mean, there's so much information they let out, but they don't want everything to be let out. I mean, they would really have to, if everything was transparent, they would have to answer for all the years that they denied that this phenomenon was real, all the people that they went and fed. We know Richard Doty was an OSI agent, Special Office of Investigations, and he went out and fed disinformation to UFO researchers. I mean, that's got to be against the law in some aspect. So the military, the three-letter agencies, they would have to answer for all the crimes they committed of covering up this phenomenon. So I think they still want to cover it up today, because they can't allow things like that to get out. Now, I think they release little things here and there, a little bit of video, you know what I mean, to give the congressmen and representatives something to go on. But it's never a full disclosure. You know what I mean? I don't think we're going to get a full disclosure. I think it's a process, and it's started.
It just makes you wonder who runs the world.
That's true. Yeah.
Who gives the go ahead to release a little bit of information like that? Is it the president, or is it somebody higher up?
Yeah, I don't think it's the president. I think it's the what people call like the cabal. You know what I mean? The secret underground government that kind of has all the money in the world and runs things and runs the media and what goes out and what comes in, and I really think they have full control. And I don't really think anybody knows who these people really are. You have to be really involved deep within this dark government. You know what I mean? This deep state.
Jesse, what do you think they're frightened of?
Who's that? The government?
Yeah, the government. To tell you, but all along we've lied about UFOs. They are real. They are around us.
I think that they know what if we found out about the technology, and I think that they're worried about other adversaries, other countries learning about different technologies that could possibly harm us. I think that they want to keep the technology and everything that they're learning from these beings to themselves, and I don't think they want it to be out in the open, because I think that if this was happening, we wouldn't have global warming. We wouldn't have nuclear missiles blowing each other up and wars and things like this. That everything would change if we had the technology that UFOs had. So I think that they're kind of keeping that to themselves, and they want to stay ahead of the ball and be the ones that are ahead of everybody else when it comes to certain times.
But I think we did get some technology. Went from a TV, what was like, I don't know, 3 foot wide and 3 foot at the back, massive, to millimeters in a matter of years, and then telephones, mobile phones. Right. So we must have got some technology of some sort for all that to change.
Yes. Philip J. Corso, he wrote a book, The Day After Roswell. And he talks about how when he worked for the military, he worked in intelligence, had a great military background, and he knew about UFOs. He was prepped and was working with them, and he stated that they were given certain objects to go and give to private industry companies within the United States so they could re-engineer these technologies and put them out into the world. Some of those things were Kevlar, which is like bulletproof vest, circuit board chips that make our computers and TVs work, like you're talking about, nuclear weapons, things like that, lasers that we have on our weapons and that we use in 3D printers, things like that. So there's a bunch of different things, and he talks about going and actually taking these objects and giving them to these companies so they could re-engineer them, which is really interesting. And he claims that these objects came from crash debris of UFOs, such as Roswell themselves. So I believe that 100% that we've gotten
Yeah,
technology.
I've heard that story as well.
Yeah. And you hear other people talk about it too. We hear other people say, hey, that the military went and retrieved a crashed UFO. For example, there's one here in PA. It's a big story called the Kecksburg UFO. It's PA's biggest UFO crash and sighting. This object that looked like an acorn had crashed in Kecksburg, PA. And within a couple hours, the military was on scene, blocked it off with nobody in the woods. They put a flatbed into the woods and they loaded this object up and covered it out and drove it out. People saw the object, but it was covered up, so no one knew what the object actually was, and they took it. And I mean, there's other crashes like that too, where the military swoops in, takes all the technology, and we have nothing left. So I believe they have it from a bunch of different ways.
I know that I spoke about this before as well. Do you think we ever went to the moon?
I think we went to the moon. Absolutely. Yeah, I believe we went. I've watched videos of, and the astronauts that have went to the moon have taken a lot of crap from people stating they haven't went to the moon. But I do believe that the training was done. They went there. The flags are up there. We watched Buzz Aldrin get really upset and emotional about people telling him that he never went and did all that training, was one of the first people to step on the moon, and to be told that you didn't do something you did, you could see the emotion, and that emotion to me kind of spoke that this really happened, kind of backed that up. So I do believe we did go there.
Yeah, I've spoke to other people who say we didn't go, but that's what happens in life anyway. Everybody's got the different stories because
Yeah.
go there because of this. Some people said we went because we did this. We wanted to go there before the Russians.
Yeah, that's true.
Did we? Yeah, I know at that time things were going on. So you don't think we'll ever get disclosure then?
So I think we're not going to get the type of disclosure where you have 100 UFOs come and land as a fleet and all these beings come out and people are all over and we shake hands. That kind of disclosure I don't think is going to happen. But we've kind of already been getting disclosure. People having contact experiences, that's disclosure. They're slowly showing themselves to people. They're giving information to them. They're giving them realistic dreams and speaking to them, showing themselves over and over again. I think disclosure is more of a process than an actual event. I think that process started when the New York Times article came out in 2017, when they started talking about the UFOs and the Black Budget Project of the Pentagon. And all the way to this date, all the things that have happened, the documents that came out, the UAP documents, the New York Times article, all the hearings that have been happening on UFOs with the state representatives. That is the process of disclosure. It's slowly happening. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be that slow dripping process of disclosure until all the information's out. But it's not going to all come out at once.
Do I think there's more people having sightings now than ever?
Oh, there's more people having more sightings now than ever. Absolutely. I agree. The data speaks for itself with the numbers that I talked about earlier.
What percentage do you get now then per year?
Per year, I don't know what the past year was, but I've seen that the monthly numbers have gone up probably by I would say anywhere from 25 to 50%. Easy. because more people are watching these hearings on TV. More people are saying, "Oh, well, if they're all seeing something in the sky, I can see it." So then they find these sky watches and they go out and hold. Um, they do the CE5 protocols now, where they go out and try to communicate with beings. Anybody can download it on their phone now. You know what I mean? Anybody do the CE5 protocols on your phone and go outside and see a UFO. So I think more people are learning about it. The stigma is slowly going away. People are talking about it more. So more people are looking up in the sky. So more people are having a lot more sightings.
It's strange that because um, I've just been to hospital again to get me about me hip, and I'm talking to a consultant, and sometimes now I'll say to him, "You ever thought about UFOs? Have you seen any?" And I always ask them now. I say, "I just want to ask you a question." Because say, "Have you got any questions about your operation?" I said, "Yeah." You ever seen a UFO in the sky? And they just look at you. And then some people say, "Yeah, I have seen some, but I can't explain." And it was when I was a young lad. And I think,
Right.
oh my God, there
It's
is people
crazy.
out there. Well, we'll talk about it now, but would never talk about it.
That's right. That's right. 10 years ago, it was a whole different story, you know? Nobody would talk, especially 50 years ago. I mean, nobody would want to talk about UFOs. Nobody wanted that attention.
Do you still get people coming to you and saying, "That's a load of rubbish"?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because I get it from both sides. I get it from people that are UFO believers that believe too much and then want everything to be a UFO when it's not. I get people, so for example, they'll submit a sighting report, and I'll do the sighting and do the investigations, and I'll come with the findings and let them know, hey, what you saw that night was this airplane with this, or it was this drone, or it was a military craft, or whatever, or it was a reflection, and they don't want to believe it. To them, it's a UFO, and you can't tell them nothing else. Then I get the people that you talk about a UFO, and they're like, no, no way, it's not happening. There's no such thing as UFOs. You know what I mean? So you get it from both ends.
I bet you're right about that. About 10 years ago, I used to go to a sauna, sit with lads, different people, just chatting away. And I'll talk about UFOs and say, "What a load of rubbish that is." Yeah, yes, no such thing. I'd like to meet him now and ask the same question now
Right,
after 10 years and
right.
give me an answer now. But then it was like, and I said, "Look," I said, and they used to say to me, "Have you seen one?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "I know it's not a plane. I do know that. What I saw was not from our technology."
Right. And you
Uh,
know that. You know
yeah, I
that.
do, yeah. I think once you've seen like these orange lights, what we see, um, people give them explanations of this and that and other. These orange lights, what we see, I'm not saying quite regular. We might see 6 lights in a row, and then they'll disappear one by one. They're not flares. There's no planes around, no nothing. And then we might not see anything for 6 months, or somebody new might say, "Can we come to Bempton with you and Paul? And we'll meet you up there Saturday night in dark months." And we go up, and he'll say, "You know, them orange lights we were on about, it's them up there in the sky." And I think, you know, what's the sod's law of that?
Right.
Then coming out when he's there, who's never seen a UFO in his life or nothing, and he goes, "It's them up there." It's crackers in it, and he'll go, "I don't know what to say. I've
Yeah.
seen them. I've got them
Yeah.
on video. We've even got them on video."
That's great. That's great.
And then we might not see them for another 6 months because people say they expect to go up there and see them all the time. I said, it doesn't happen like that.
No, no, no. They don't come when you want them to come all the time. That's for sure.
And they'll come when you're not expecting it. You'll never get your phone out. You'll never get your camera ready. They're
That's right.
out, gone.
I had my second sighting, and both sightings were unexpected. The first sighting I had, they were four solid objects. What I saw that day, you know what I mean? They were UFOs, gold, solid. They might have been circular UFOs. I don't know, but they were solid objects. My second sighting I had, which was more recent, probably a year and a half ago, The object that I seen, I was sitting out, I went to go have a cigarette, and I'm sitting there, and I'm at a hotel because I was traveling, and there was a tree line right across the parking lot from me. And as I'm sitting there, I'm looking, there's nothing in the sky. And then out of nowhere, it just materialized and came into focus. I don't know, but it was nothing was there before, and this blue, white, shiny something that kind of looked like a swirl
Mm.
appeared, and it flew across like this, came down, did all right angles. It didn't do like a slow turn, complete boom, 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 and then dissipated and disappeared again. It was so weird, and it wasn't a solid object like the first sightings. This was like a orb, or like a, I have no idea. Like, it looked like a mist, a blue and white and shiny silvery mist thing. I have no idea. It was crazy, and it blew my mind because I was like, "What did I just see?" And my girlfriend at the time had been coming out right before it disappeared, so she had seen something dissipate and go away. You know what I mean? So it was crazy. And so at both times I had somebody that was there with me to see
That's
these
good.
things. Yeah.
That's good. And if
That
you're
made
on
me
your
think I'm
own,
not crazy. I'm like, I know I'm not
exactly.
crazy now.
And we've said that, me and Paul have said that many times when we've been out. I'm glad you're here, Bob, or I'm glad you're here, Paul. We both think the same thing. Now, Stargazer's here saying, Jesse, do you get reports from other countries?
Yeah, so I work with the MUFON's CAG, which is CAG. It's the acronym, and we get cases from all over, not just here in the States, but we get them from the UK, Australia, Japan, and MUFON has chapters all over the world. It's not just here in the States. So there's MUFON chapters in the UK, in Australia, in Japan, all over, and we have chapters that you can go and join. So if you're in another country, you can look up your local chapter. There's usually one major one in different countries, and you can attend the meetings they have, get in touch with them, get involved. But yes, we investigate all over.
I know one
Um,
of the questions where we're going, how do you start? How do you get in touch with MUFON then?
so what you do is you go on MUFON.com. It'll be find a chapter. You go under the tab find a chapter, and you'll look for your state or your country, and you get in touch with that person that is the state or country director at that time. Get in contact with them, and they'll walk you through the process of what you got to do. They'll be your contact from that point on. So
Right.
basically, what I did when I started, I looked mine up. My chief investigator, I gave him a phone call. He told me the steps that I had to take, about the training, what to get, how I had to take the test, what classes I was going to take, their chapter, their meetings, all that. He got me involved and kind of hooked you up. So they'll do the same thing for you wherever you are.
Because I presume there'll be people listening to the show thinking, exactly, how do I get involved? And I've had a sighting, I'm getting interested in it. What's the best thing to do? Listen to podcasts, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for information, you try to find somebody that's in the field. Like if you're on Twitter, there's a bunch of different people on there. You just got to be careful who you're dealing with. But you find somebody that seems to be truthful and does the right thing, that has a lot of time in the field, and you pay attention to the information they're giving out. Reach out to them too. Many people like myself and other investigators and researchers, we're in the public field. We're on social media. You can reach out to us too. And we'll help you and work with you. You know what I mean? I do recruitment for MUFON in PA, so I try to go to different events, set up a table, hand flyers out, and anybody that's interested. I've had many people come to me, and I'll walk them through the process of how to get involved.
Yeah, probably another thing is to, if you can get to a conference somewhere and get to talk to people.
Right. And most chapters in each state have their own meetings monthly. And then you can also find that there are virtual meetings every month in mostly every state. So even if you're living in Texas and PA might be having a meeting this week, you can go to that meeting virtually through Zoom or Skype and get the information you want. So you don't have to be in person, which is great. So there's
Melvin's
plenty
in
of
the
ways.
chat room. Melvin's in the chat room. He said, Jesse, what's the best sighting you've witnessed? Plus, have you seen alien or alien? Thanks.
both my sightings, I had the one where I seen the four gold objects, and I seen the other one that I just described, and that blue mist thing. Um, they were both, because they were so different. One was solid objects, one was like a orb or something like that. They were each really cool in their own way. So I don't know which one would be better. But I've also had some different experiences, which I think is from being involved in the field and having those sightings. I've had some things happen to me within my room, what we might call a hitchhiker effect, and then it's become my own personal experience. I had that happen for a good year, where I was experiencing some things in my room, in my home when I was sleeping. I talk about it. I wrote a lot of different stuff on my website, and it will be in the book as well. All the experiences that I'm having that I wrote down. But yeah, it scares you at first too when you go from having sightings to actually seeing things in your room at night and being woken up. It's a whole different experience. So yeah, I've had that happen to me. I've learned to look at it in a positive light, because at first, we're trying to understand it in our mind, and it can scare us. But when you wind up really doing your research and looking into it, it could be something that turns into a positive. So yeah, I've had a little bit of everything. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have in this flat what I'm living in. I've had things jumping on my bed at night time.
Yeah, yeah,
Lots of different things. Shadows coming out of one wall, and I'm 30 foot up, going across the front of the TV into the wall. But I'll talk about that on your podcast.
yeah.
And,
That sounds like a plan.
out of the wall, and it bothered me at the beginning, and then I just get on with life, and I think, well, as long as they're not harming me
That's right. Right.
and not bothering me, I'll just leave them alone. Just let them do their own thing.
That's right. And sometimes you'll find out that they're not there to hurt you. They're there to actually help you in some ways. We hear many times where people have experiences and they're miraculously healed. You know what I mean? People that have had tumors and cancer and things like that. And they have these experiences, and afterwards they go to see their doctor, and their doctor says, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Everything's gone, and you're miraculously healed. So there's that. There's people that have ESP after having different contact experiences, which stands for extrasensory perception. And that kind of gives you like a sixth sense and kind of guides you in life. It can keep you out of trouble and keep you going in the right direction. Um, I had a little bit of that at one point, and I explain it as this. One day I was walking down the street. I was having these ESP events happen. Um, I had a feeling in my gut to turn off to another street. And luckily I did, because if I would have kept going up that street, there would have been some drama with someone with a weapon, getting robbed. You know what I mean? But because I had that ESP event happen to me, it was a positive. It was guiding me in a direction so I wouldn't be harmed.
Yeah,
So you have to look at it that way too. So there's all different kinds.
yes, yeah. We're about come to the end of the show, unfortunately. It's been a fascinating show as usual with you, Jesse. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you, and tell us about your podcast?
Yeah, so I do the podcast. It's called UFO Encounters Worldwide. I put a episode out every week on Thursday. It's available on all podcast platforms, and then it's played on digital broadcast radio every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the UNX network. You can find that on all different radios, digital broadcast radio stations. I also have the website. So you can get my website. It's UFO Encounters Worldwide.wordpress.com. There's tons of articles that I've written over there. A lot of them have been published in magazines, of all different kinds of information, good information that you can get over there and learn about the phenomenon. Every astronaut sighting and encounter is over there on one page I wrote out. There's the astronaut list over there. There's different sightings that happened. J. Allen Hynek's UFO encounter that made him a true believer. There's everything. There's the 1967 Herb Shermer event, first police officer to ever be abducted while he's on duty. So if you want to learn about some stuff, there's stuff there, and some of my own encounters are there as well. There's all kinds of stuff. So you can do that. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. There is the Facebook group for the show too, UFO Encounters Worldwide. If you reach out, just give me a little time to get back to you, but I will reply. Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you to the guests, everybody in the chat room. It's always nice for some questions to come forward as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do as well. I always think it's absolutely wonderful. Right, my guest next. I'll just get my diary. My guest next Wednesdays is Kate Thorisden. I've had her on before, but it's quite a few years ago. And then on Friday, the 5th of July, is Jason McKenzie. We're going to talk about Bigfoot on that occasion. UFOs and abduction on Wednesday, the 3rd of July, at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific, and 7 o'clock in the UK. Thank you again. Yeah, you get in touch with me, Jesse, and I'll come on your show.
Yes, I'm going to have you on within the next couple of weeks. So I will
you.
reach out and give you some dates.
Sometimes.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me on. I appreciate it, Bob. It was
Yeah,
good talking to
you
again.
and you take care. Thank you again.